Hello everyone! Recently I've been under immense pressure to start commenting my videos. And by immense pressure I mean 2 people mentioned it in passing over the last 6 months. And so I gave up and decided to give it a try. Welcome to my first voiceover commentary for the part 1 factory playthrough of the Might and Magic map. The goal of this commentary is to explain my decision making. Please leave your feedback in the comments. All the starting fights are pretty easy, and basically this one is the easiest of all. So let's quickly cover my starting choices. I chose an artifact for starting bonus, which rolled a Bird of Luck. It's nothing too exciting, but alternatives are not that great either. Resource would be the second best option, in my opinion, because it would make it easier to build level 7 creatures. Gold is the worst because you start with the city hall, basically. The gold bonus will become irrelevant very quickly. One of somewhat important features of this start is that this dwarven treasury generated minimum size, making it an easy, clear, and some easy resources in the beginning. As for the starting hero, I picked Floribird for 2 reasons. First is his first aid specialty, making him perfect in taking early game fights, where I wouldn't be able to avoid damage. But I would still prefer to avoid losses, obviously. And second reason is that later on he'll get access to a Scroll of Resurrection, which is a great asset. Apart from the chosen hero, we start with 2 heroes predefined for our faction. For factory, these are Henrietta, that I'm currently controlling, and Sam. They are halflings and mechanics specialists. Henrietta is amazing. She will be my main hero for a long while. Halflings will be our main damage dealer for a long time, and having +1 speed and extra stats on them is beyond excellent. Now, this might look like a weird setup with my armadillos, but I left this hole there to make sure that engineers don't reach anyone in 2 turns, which they didn't. Obviously, you wouldn't want to risk this if you didn't plan to reload if they get a morale. So morale should always be a concern. Now this fight was very lucky. Okay, very lucky. In general, we are trying to avoid losses as much as possible, and so far I lost 4 halflings in the first halfling fight, and in the fight against Grenadier halflings I would normally take 8 to 10 halflings in losses, so that's a big one. But in this attempt, apparently my halflings did get morale on turn 1, enabling them to kill everyone there. That's excellent, obviously, and it won't happen every time, of course. Now, you definitely want to take this fight on Henrietta, because the +1 speed she has on her halflings gives her unupgraded halflings an equal turn priority against upgraded ones. So that's the only reason she even can do this fight with minor losses, unlike any other hero. So I don't have much use for Sam. Unfortunately, she will be mostly collecting resources and moving my army around. That's about as much I can tell about her. An important feature of Start for Factory is, as you can see, we start in swamps. Roads help a lot here, for sure. But any step off the road costs us a lot of movement points. We want to take pathfinding on all of our starting heroes to avoid these penalties. And that was the reason why I took pathfinding on Henrietta when it was offered on level 3. That's a pretty easy fight, if you exploit the battlefield layout, which we'll do. We need to block the pass above with a damaged armadillo stack, so it's important that halflings don't kill it. This way the remaining armadillos won't be able to kill anything, and both other stacks will move back, giving us more time to kill them. One of the big features of this map is that it makes a big separation between your might and magic heroes. So your might heroes will never be able to gain wisdom. And so basically they're like your average high schooler, not very good at exams unless they bring the cheat sheet with them. So that's kind of the destiny of your might heroes. And well, magic heroes, they are smart, they have wisdom, so they don't need cheat sheets to pass exams. Basically, in other words, it means that your might heroes will have to rely on having magic books and magic scrolls, also known as cheat sheets, of course. So that's bad and good, right? So on one hand, they have to use these items to cast good spells. On another hand, they can do that, right? So if there were no spell books or scrolls to use, these heroes would be useless in the long term, obviously. So all of our 3 starting heroes are might heroes, so they don't have magic per se, so that is, they don't have wisdom, but we don't need wisdom this early anyway. As for the magic, most of the most impactful magic is not easily attainable. And that also makes might heroes, at least for some time, a better choice. Okay, that fight is a little bit tricky. Requires some turn order management to make sure that we don't lose anything. And also, the halfling split obviously quite important, and so we managed to clear it without losses. Now we are soon to see why I think this start is the best start I managed to get, at least. I'm sure, I mean, we could roll a much better start. But of those that I tried, I managed to generate, it was the only one that gives a great creature in the refugee camp. And boy, what this creature is, you'll see. Okay. Okay, we lost a few units. That's not too bad. And so we have a Juggernaut. Hands down the best unit we could ask for this early. The primary purpose for the Juggernaut is to tank damage for us, and the very first objective we'll use it to take will be the experimental shop at the top of this screen. We have 2 experimental shops in our home zone, and in this start both of them were generated size 3, so that's a pretty big size. Unless we have a strong level 7 unit, we can't take these shops without losing a large number of our factory units. And the Juggernaut is a perfect fit for that. And so the shop. I'm using the Juggernaut to occupy 3 golem stacks on the right, while my low-level creatures deal with the 2 stacks on the left. Basically, Juggernaut is buying me time and also deals some damage, respectable damage. Here I am waiting with halflings to make sure that they can guarantee a shot next turn. which they will. If I did take this hit, used halflings to move them away or kill the one, the 12 stack would then block halflings, taking away my ability to shoot on the next turn. Whoopsie. We lost the Juggernaut. That's bad, right? That's very, very bad. Did not go according to plan. Well, at least we do manage to save this armadillo. That actually is way more important. Okay, it's a pretty good fight. And well, we did not lose the Juggernaut. What a shocker. And basically it was a reason, the fact that we can repair it, that is the primary reason probably that why Dreadnaught is the best unit for the refugee camp. So right now I'm changing my fighting hero for some time. I will move Henrietta back to the second experimental shop so that she could clear it. And meanwhile, I'll take a few fights with Floribert and then use Sam to move the army from him to Henrietta. Also, Floribert needs to take the gloves there. Now, the bad news is that now that we have giants, we'll suffer movement penalty even on the wastelands, unless we have pathfinding, that is. So Floribert and Sam, well, Sam won't be carrying giants most of the time, but it will affect Floribert, so his movement on wastelands will sometimes suffer a penalty. Now, I don't know why I'm not sure why I actually wanted to build a watchtower so badly. I mean, it was like, I thought, when I started this map, I thought, well, I build a watchtower, I have those headhunters, or whatever their name is, and they will give me a boost in shooting, and they will be so useful. And so I don't think it's actually it panned out very well, honestly. They were not particularly useful. I mean, we still need to build them at some point, so it's not too bad. So I'm trying to finish Floribert's turn on the pit so that he would dig a hole there next turn, and passing the army to Henrietta. Okay, second shop fight is easier than the first one, obviously, because we have 3 giants now. But the idea is the same, we just have more power. And we don't even have to repair the Juggernaut. So we get 3 more giants now, 6 giants in total. That's a very respectable army now. And expert logistics as well. Very good. Now I leave Henrietta with a robot, and she'll do some cleanup in the down, in the south direction. Meanwhile, Floribert will continue clearing in the north and northwest, primarily. So that's basically is the idea. Now it's day 6 already, so it's very close to the time that we want to build a level 7 creature, at least one. Well, building both on week 1 would be quite a challenge. We'd need 30 crystals to do that. That's quite an ask. But building one is, well, is our goal basically. So we want to gather some crystals. Now I mentioned that, or did I? I'm not sure. There are some spells that are disabled by default on this map. And this includes some of the most overpowered combat spells, such as Slow, Blind, Berserk, Resurrection. So these spells are not gonna be available as easily as one would see them in a regular scenario. And to unlock them, your hero would have to satisfy a certain level of spell power. A relatively high level of spell power. For example, of the mentioned spells, the lowest requirement is for Slow, and it has a spell power requirement of 45 to unlock, so that's pretty high level. And so normally big useful spells are not available to you. I mean, you still have access to haste, you still have access to shield, to bless, to some other kind of useful spells. I mean, lightning, and even Armageddon at some point. So you have some good stuff there. Okay, this fight is kind of curious. You may wonder why rogues went down like this, shouldn't they go closer to the top to be closer to halflings? I mean, halflings should be their desired target there, right? And the answer is that rogues did not want to cross paths with giants. So that is one way to abuse AI quite heavily, honestly. So I've put giants to positions 2 and 3 right below halflings, so that their movement range would be reaching quite far along the top side and would not be reaching far along bottom side. And so AI chose going below even for the top stack. So when you have a strong melee stack in your army, you can use that to your advantage quite a lot, actually. That's a very strong idea. Now, for some reason, I was contemplating exchanging resources here to build gantry, but in hindsight, I think building Couatls is obviously a better choice. Kind of actually a bit disappointed in myself for even considering building gantry there. And there you saw the town portal use. So when I spoke about spells, I mentioned the spells that are disabled, but one of the features, I think it's a great feature, honestly, of this map is that every hero has access to the town portal from the beginning, and every hero that you will find in any prison will also have town portal. That includes your might heroes who don't have wisdom, by the way. So that's actually, I mean, I don't know any other map where a map author gave so much liberty to the players, granting them town portal from the beginning. And honestly, I think it's a great idea. I think people should look at it like a good example. There are ways, definitely, to make your map interesting, even if you give players the town portal, even more so, honestly, if you do so. Because it enables you to do some really cool stuff. Okay, so we are in week 2 now. Henrietta will bring reinforcements to Floribert. Now is the time to talk about the blockers. So we see Nomads and Engineers on the screen right now. These are primary blocking stacks. That is, the stacks guarding exits from our home zone. And they're pretty strong. So, in case you wondered why would I need a Juggernaut and 6 Giants in my army, and that would be a fair question, honestly, if we only take the fights that we so far had, right? Those fights were very easy for the most part. But one of those two fights that we'll have to take at this point, they're much more difficult. For example, engineers army is 360 size, and these are level 2 creatures with speed 8 because they're on their home ground, on native ground. They have breath attack, and they have a formidable damage for level 2 creature. It's 3 to 5. So they're actually so scary. In comparison, Nomads, which is a much easier fight in my opinion, it's still a very difficult fight if you don't have a Juggernaut and even Giants, because there are 280 of them. They're pretty beefy in comparison to Engineers, 30 HP, but they're much easier, of course, because they don't have breath attack and they have 2 tile size. It will enable us to do some nice things against them. And so our plan now is to take that fight against Nomads. Week 2. I think, honestly, some better player probably would be able to, possibly, I don't know, honestly I doubt even that, but possibly a better player would be able to do that without a Juggernaut and Giants. But I have my doubts about that. Now this is gonna be a big fight. So the battlefield layout is not spectacular, but still we have something to work with. And we will work with it. Now I use Frederick here, and his units have bonus hit points, so that will help him sustain damage a little bit more, a little bit better. But obviously we can't soak all the damage and still not lose anything. That's just too much damage. And so our chosen meat for this fight is armadillos. So that's why they're there. Plug in the hole. Couatls are one step behind to make sure that no more than one stack can hit Couatls there. So I'm kind of concerned about their health. And obviously 2 stacks below should be dealt with as soon as possible, because, well, they're primary threat to us at this point. I lost half of my armadillos by this time. The roaming Nomad stack came back top because, as you can see, there is some surface to attack armadillos now, which we will happily take away from it. Now, move them back. There is still no way for Nomads to get in. and the Roman Nomad stack is still being a fool there. So that's good. In general, when you take fights like this, fights against a sizable army, your best bet is to reduce number of attacks you take, right? That's basically the game. And obviously you want all of the attacks you take, actually you have to take. Generally you can't avoid all attacks. So you want these attacks to be aimed at the creatures you actually want them to be aimed at, right? In this case, I want these attacks to be split across my level 7 creatures and armadillos. And obviously I don't want any level 7 creature to be killed. It might be a little bit tricky, but it kind of works out pretty well here. So we are about to wrap this fight up. Okay, I see that Flurrybird almost finished developing his 5 skills at this point, so he might level into a bad skill unless he gets a good one in the next 2 level ups. A bit dangerous situation. Luckily he does roll into good skills. So getting actually better army now, able to split Couatls to block shooters. In this case, halflings. And we are into the next zone at this point. We see a prison here, and then there is another hero camp behind diamond golems. These heroes require certain level to open, and basically almost all heroes on this map are closed by some level requirement. Most of heroes require level 20, and in this case one hero requires level 39 and another hero requires level 20, and we don't have neither, so basically we have to skip this for now. Now, Flurrybird's specialty is actually something to behold. Couatls, even though unupgraded, have almost 200 HP at this point. Very solid. Very solid. Next couple of fights will be a bit boring. But a bit later there will be a couple of kind of decent fights actually. Nice Couatls split allows us to take shooter fights even though we don't have tactics. That is, of course, if there are not more than 2 stacks of the shooters. I really want to build Gantry this week, and I build Resource Silo to make sure that I have enough crystals. Possibly a mistake. Nice helmet. Nice find. In hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have built the pen as well. I will be short on gold this week. Should have maybe said that it's a spoiler alert, whatever. Not much of a spoiler, I hope. Now this fight is kinda pretty tough. That's 180 golems, which are nominally tier 5 creatures, even though they're quite weak for tier 5. But even for tier 4, that's a lot. That's much more difficult fight than against Nomads, for sure. So I'll be using my Couatls to bait some golem stacks back. That's the only way I can succeed, basically. Otherwise, golems would just overwhelm me. So fortunately, 2 stacks went back, and that will give me some breathing room. Now giants are pretty intimidating, so AI won't hit giants unless it doesn't have other targets to hit. So when positioning giants, we want to make sure that we don't set them up for something, for a big hit. A big suicidal hit, but still. So we want to put them a little bit back, but at the same time they can be pretty reckless. Okay, finishing the fight now. Okay, nice fight. Now contemplating, should I take tactics or should I wait for air magic? There is air magic in the university to the south of my starting town, so I could learn that. Or pathfinding as well is another option. So tactics, pathfinding and air magic are my candidates for the last skill slot. And the choice is quite difficult. Quite difficult choice to me. Air magic basically is something you want to take aiming for the end game, so that your hero would be able to dimension door, fly efficiently. So that's basically why you would take air. Pathfinding is an early game choice. You want to keep up the tempo. Another good fight. Now, usefully, we put one of the Couatls in front. So that he'd be a little bit better reachable by every Dreadnought. And also move giants down, so that they would disincentivize enemies to go below the crevice. So basically this nice little setup results in all enemies going above the crevice, which is the perfect result. Now the only pass is blocked, so the Dreadnaughts will go back. Now I need to move headhunters back so that they wouldn't be targeted by the beam. And my Couatls block the path from the bottom. So that looks like a pretty solid setup right now. Couatls will only be hit by 3 Dreadnaughts at this point, so that's not a concern yet. Now, there are 7 Dreadnaughts right now, and that's dangerous, so we finally use the special ability. Well, obviously, the special ability of Couatls is the best feature of them, right? Combat stat-wise, they're actually very underwhelming. So we are finishing up right now. The only danger is the 5 stack at this point, and it moves at the moment. It moves after giants, but to keep it this way, we need to make sure that the 1 stack is not killed, so we don't want to kill it. And now we can move giants back. before the 5 stack takes its turn. Now, ending of this fight is a bit sloppy. I made a mistake here. Should have moved Couatls up, block the way for the Dreadnaughts. Now, Headhunters might have not killed the Dreadnought. They did, so it was lucky. So I didn't get punished for this mistake, but it was a mistake nonetheless. Okay, some progress, pretty good progress, in my opinion. But I'm sure it could be better. Another decent fight. Now, Flurrybird doesn't have tactics because I chose pathfinding for tempo, and it complicates things a little bit. At this point, I'm basically trying to visualize the troops' positions, units' positions, that is, I want to have by the end of the turn 1, right? So that's basically is the idea, and that's what I'm thinking there. So I want to close vulnerable troops by those who will be able to take an extra hit. So giants will be put there. And I'm also hitting the first Couatl. I'll explain why in a second. So I have one wounded Couatl there, which is also a vulnerable stack. And I'll put it behind, like, kind of in a hole, right? So that only one stack can hit it. And because I already killed some of the Couatls in the first stack, so it was hitting my wounded Couatl and didn't get enough hitting power to kill it, fortunately. So that turned out pretty lucky. And now we get access to the heal fort. Now, if I anticipated it properly, and I actually could, so I probably wouldn't have spent my money so liberally on building a pen, on maybe even building resource silo. Quite possibly, actually, given that there are some free crystals here. So, not having this 6,000 gold is actually quite painful. Also, I skipped chests in the top. Naively, I left them for Sam, hoping that she will take them for experience. How naive, right? So I should have taken them for gold at this point. And because of my mistakes, the next couple of turns will be painful to watch and were painful to play, because I just couldn't figure out how to salvage the situation at this point. Now, upgraded Couatls are actually a nice addition. Too bad I couldn't upgrade giants right away. That's the worst part. So if I had 6 extra thousands of gold, I would actually be able to upgrade everything right now, and quite possibly I would be able to build gantry this week. Another mistake, hiring enchanters here was actually very dumb. Another 1500 gold out of the window. So kinda portion of playthrough that is full of, I wouldn't say major mistakes, but definitely a large number of minor mistakes that result in suboptimal play overall. Some extra halflings and automatons, pretty welcome addition. Especially because we are next to the hill fort right now, so upgrading halflings will not be a problem. Now, I'm gonna change the army setup and make sure that I mostly take quick units. So as you can see, it's day 6 and I have no gold, so it's highly unlikely I can build gantry at this point. And those 6,000, 7.5 actually thousands of gold, because it's resource silo, it's a pen for armadillos, and that's 2 enchanters I bought. So this 7.5 thousand of gold would very likely make the difference here and would enable me to build gantry. It's not a big deal, so kind of that's annoying that I can't do that, but at the same time robots won't be particularly impactful. They're still very few. to play a significant role. And it won't matter that much if I have 2 more at this point. So now I'm basically thinking if I should wait for the next turn to upgrade automatons as well. And so I decided to do that, and obviously these chests are also traded for gold eventually. I mean, maybe shouldn't have upgraded armadillos. I don't know. Also another not necessary expense. And also, by the way, after I added enchanters to my army, it resulted in my army having negative morale, which, if I recall correctly, I didn't even realize just yet. That's very telling. So I will eventually deal with it. Now, another possible mistake, I'm not sure. I mean, bringing Couatls split in 2 stacks could be better. The problem is that, I mean, maybe not problem, honestly, should have done it. I got lucky with the slow, so I didn't get wrecked for it. Just trade some forces to make sure that fight against Couatls goes smoothly. And sure it does. Okay, so we are about to wrap it up. That's going to be the end of part 1 of the playthrough. Please leave your comments below, your suggestions, whatever. Any feedback is welcome. And see you in the next part. Bye.